Here's what I hear from leaders a lot. We want teams to move faster. Every time we give them more autonomy, something seems to break. So we add more processes, some checks, then everyone complains about bureaucracy, and now we're slower. Sound familiar? The answer is probably not more gates. It's definitely not endless approval cycles. The answer is platform engineering that has the right guardrails. And I'm going to show you exactly what that could look like today. Hi, I'm Dacy, also known as Big Agile. Today, I'd like to talk about how to enable speed in our delivery without creating a bunch of chaos. So most organizations that I visit feel like they have these mummified, ossified, calcified process control systems from yesteryear. And it's like, when I ask why is that the case? It's like usually something bad happened. Right. And so when that happens, we run a postmortem and then we decide on some gates and some checks and balances and things like that. And I end up just calling those like band-aids that you put on your finger, or, bandages that you might wear on your hand when you get a cut. But we never seem to take those bandages off, or the bandages, they just stay. So how often you ever got a cut on your hand and you never remove the band-aid once it's healed? So I find once we get better, we don't seem to alter our processes to reflect that. So that might be the first step. We just seem to be walking around like mummies. We have too many bandages. So, the symptom that leaders recognize, I want to start with probably what's happening on the ground, is that your best teams are waiting for infrastructure, waiting for security reviews, waiting for someone in another department, to provision an environment, or worse yet, approve their deployment. Now, meanwhile, your leadership is nervous. When we have self-managing teams, they see teams shipping code, but they really don't have an idea, is that secure, stable, or even following basic standards. So what do? They add controls, they add gates, they add approvals. You'd probably do the same thing as well. Now you have the best of both worlds, or worst, I should say. Teams are slow and leaders still don't trust the system. So the problem isn't necessarily that teams need less freedom or that leaders need more control. The problem is that we're probably trying to solve a flow problem with governance. And when you constrain the wrong things, you tend to create queues. When you create queues, you destroy the cycle time. When cycle time blows up, trust starts to erode shortly thereafter. And so I find the solution is not more meetings or checkpoints. It's just maybe better constraints in the right places. I don't think constraints are necessarily evil. I've talked about how Scrum itself has enabling constraints, but constraints can be very bad, but they can also be done well. So I'd like to talk about another dirty word in the industry: platforms. So what's a platform really? I found an interesting definition in the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. They have a white paper that states what a platform is. And they basically say it's a curated set of capabilities that reduce cognitive load and enable stream-aligned teams to deliver value with minimal friction. Now, let me try to translate that. A good platform gives your teams a paved path. All right. So they don't have to reinvent, deployment pipelines. They don't have to figure out observability from scratch. And they certainly don't have to negotiate with 6 teams to get an environment spun up. The platform team makes the right way the easy way. Team topologies is another little article I read about this. It calls the differences between a platform team and a stream-aligned team. The platform teams exist to accelerate the stream-aligned teams. They're not there to control them. They're there to remove friction. Now, most of the time I see orgs think of platform teams as the teams that build common elements, that are extended by other teams. This is not what I'm talking about here. Stream-aligned teams are product teams. Platform teams enable those teams. So most organizations miss that critical piece. Platform teams don't just provide self-servicing tooling. They also embed the guardrails that kind of help keep our teams within safe boundaries without requiring a whole lot of human approval and control for every decision. And so I kind of think of it, a good example would be like a highway design. You want cars to move fast. You also want them to stay in their lanes and not drive off a cliff. So we accomplish that with, lane markers and guardrails and banked curves and things like that. Not with a toll booth every quarter mile where somebody's like, "Hey, how are you driving today? Let me check out everything." So that would be very slow, and that we wouldn't get where we need to go. So I find, where it gets interesting is we do want autonomy, right? Agile says self-managing teams. We do want that. I also find managers get a bit paralyzed by that statement, and when that happens, I tend to turn to a great resource I found from Glenda Eo Yang. And she works in complexity and adaptive systems, kind of the same space that we're all working in. And she has developed a framework called CDE. All right, that stands for containers, differences, and exchanges. And she explains how you can subtly influence these self-organizing teams without necessarily controlling them. And influencing is a great thing. So containers are typically what she talks about as holding the system together. So your platform would define the container. It sets the boundaries, the identity and the purpose. An example of this would be that all services must deploy through this particular pipeline. That would be a container, its boundaries. But inside that boundary, the team has freedom. Differences create the diversity. So think about cross-functional teams here. So in platform thinking, this is, having a variety of skills and team structures and problem spaces that you're solving for. And the platform should accommodate those different types of teams. And so like a data science team has a radically different need than a web front-end team. So good platforms handle that difference without forcing everyone into the same box. Exchanges are how information and resources kind of flow or influence through the system. Platforms control these exchanges by deciding, what's self-service, what's automated, and what requires coordination. And basically, if you want teams to move fast, you make exchanges frictionless. And if you want them to stay safe, you embed policy into the exchange itself. And so I find a key insight that I have when I read some of those things is you don't want to control teams by telling them what to do necessarily. What we're trying to do is shape their behavior, changing their container, their differences and their exchanges, and leaders and managers can do that as well. And I believe that that's the best way complex systems work. Your delivery system happens to be a complex system, I would imagine. So I'd like to start out with 5 good examples of these guardrails and give you some concrete ways or practical ways you could take those home. The first one is automated policy enforcement at deployment time. So instead of a security review, that takes 2 weeks, the platform team runs automated checks. Or the platform does. And if your container has critical vulnerabilities, it just doesn't deploy. No ticket, no meeting, no nothing. Just a clear signal and a link to fix it. Another one would be default observability that's baked into every service. Every new service gets logging, metrics, and tracing automatically. Teams don't opt in. They get it by default. They can customize it. But they can't accidentally ship something, that's invisible in production. A third one is progressive delivery with an automatic rollback. So instead of requiring a change advisory board to approve every release, the platform enables canary deployments, right, with automatic rollback on error rate spikes. And teams can ship confidently because the system itself is kind of preventing this blast radius. I worked with a team long ago. They had a mantra to roll forward. They never rolled back. They always rolled forward. Another one would be work in process limits on active experiments. So if you let teams just start unlimited experiments, you create queues everywhere. So instead, we want to limit those. So one team I worked with, they capped active, let's say feature branches at 3. We only can have 3 feature branches at a time. And so if you wanted to start something new, you got to finish or kill something old. And this forces that prioritization without requiring a bunch of management or executive approval. Number 5 here, we have a self-service with embedded compliance. So instead of requiring a manual security review for every single infrastructure change, the platform provides Terraform modules that are pre-approved. Teams compose what they need. The compliance is embedded, speed goes up, your risk stays low, and we can start noticing the pattern there that good guardrails automate these enforcements of these standards that we want. So teams are still at liberty to do what they want. They should make it, the platform should make it easy to do. The right thing to do should be easy, and it should be very hard, to do the wrong thing. And that's really what the platform is all about. We don't need, these human gatekeepers. The humans shape the container, the differences, and the exchanges. So we talked about the good ways. So let's talk about 5 examples of bad bureaucracy. Those are rampant in organizations. Number 1, manual approval for every deployment. If you live in an environment that's happening, and I've seen organizations where deployment to production requires like 3 sign-offs. Okay? That's a queue. That's going to create a queue. And it also trains people to batch up these changes now. And that's a bigger deployment. It increases risks. So if you need a human to improve every deploy, your system's probably not safe enough, and your process is making it worse. All right. So we want to keep that in mind. And I see that quite a bit where approvals have to happen for releases by people who don't even know what's in the release. They're not even familiar with this. It's just crazy to me to do that. So let's talk about number 2, which is requiring a detailed design document, before any code is written. So big design up front doesn't really reduce risk. In my opinion, it just moves ignorance around. So if your platform requires a 20-page architecture document, before a team can start an experiment, then we're optimizing for the appearance of control, not learning. And I am not against design. I mean, we got to sit down and do design. I'm talking about those checks control boards, the architecture review boards. Like the team wants to do something, but they've got to schedule time with these people and write up a document. And documents aren't evil either. Just make sure that we're using them in the right way. Number 3, we're going to talk about is the concept that infrastructure provisioning that has a 2-week lead time. I worked with a team one time that we were getting a new test environment, and it took 14 days. It required a ticket. Somebody had to approve it, and it had to be handed off to another team. That's not a guardrail. That is a bottleneck that's disguised as governance. All right. Number 4, very popular, is mandating specific tools with no flexibility. All right. Platforms should provide paid paths. If your platform says you must use tool X for everything, and tool X doesn't actually solve the team's problems, you just created what I like to call IT shadow ops. Y'all ever had those before where people are like, hey, they won't let us use this, we're going to go do it. And then next thing you know, IT has to support it because now we've put it in production and they have no choice but to do that. So I find that teams will work around you. And now you've basically lost visibility and you've slowed them down at the same time. Number 5 is requiring executive approval for those small experiments. If a team wants to test a hypothesis that affects 5% of your traffic for 3 days, and they need a VP to sign off for that, you've got a decision-making problem. Psychological safety, right? That's what we're lacking here. That dies when the team wants to make small bets, but it requires these big approvals. All right. So the difference between guardrails and bureaucracies is that the guardrails are automated and local and, trust the team to do certain things. Bureaucracy requires humans, and that tends to slow the flow down. All right. So let's wrap up and talk a little bit about a practical playbook. Like, how do you actually build this? So I want to give you an approach that I've seen work in many of my teams. And so the first one is I want you to identify your top 3 bottlenecks, right? So where are the teams waiting? Is it infrastructure provisioning? Is it security reviews? Is it code reviews, QA, something like that? So pick the top 3 based on cycle time impact. Number 2, replace manual gates with automated policy. So for each bottleneck, ask, what standard are we trying to enforce here? And then ask, can we automate that check? Some of them you can, some of them you can't. If the answer is yes, I want you to build that into the platform. If the answer is no, you might not actually even have a standard. Okay, so make sure you evaluate that. Number 3 is make a paved path by default. This is where team topologies shine. Your platform should provide, golden paths for common workflows. So that's, things like deployment, observability, secrets management, right? Data access, things that make these things self-service with guardrails baked in. Number 4, think about CDE. What is your container? What differences and skills do we need to accommodate that? And how does information exchange or flow through the system? When you design your platform, you're shaping those 3 conditions, whether you know about it or not. So be intentional about it and think about them. Number 5, measure lead time and change failure rate. Man, these are right out of DORA metrics that we've been talking about for a few months now. If your guardrails are working, your team should be deploying faster, period. And more reliably, I should add. So if lead time is slow or change failure rate is high, then we find that our guardrails are either too loose or too tight. All right. Number 6, we're going to constrain work in progress, not decisions. So you don't need to approve every decision. You need to limit how much active work is in flight at a time that requires those decisions. So cap the number of active projects or tickets or whatever you want to call it, and the number of open feature branches. Man, that's terrible as well. The size of our backlogs need to be limited. All of those things. Work in progress constraints can help force the team to finish before they start, which would improve the flow without requiring these gatekeepers. All right. So the Cloud Native Computing Foundation that I mentioned earlier in our talk, they have a maturity model, a roadmap. And I'll put these links down at the bottom as well. But it's a really good thing to read. And if you haven't read Team Topologies, a book by Matthew Skelton and Manuel Paez, that's your next step as well. If you're in this line of work, it's a great book to do that. So I want to wrap up with the truth. Autonomy without guardrails is chaos. Guardrails without autonomy is bureaucracy. And you need both. I don't deny that. We got to have both of those. Great platforms give our teams the freedom to move fast by making safety automatic. So they've replaced the human gates with automated policy. They've replaced the waiting with self-service, and they've replaced fear with feedback. And they do this not by eliminating constraints, but by putting the right constraints in the right places in the system. So here's your next challenge for the week, hopefully next week. Pick one manual approval process that's slowing your team down. I want you to ask yourselves, what standard are we trying to enforce? And then figure out how to automate the check and eliminate the gate. I think you'll be surprised how much speed that you unlock when you stop confusing process with protection. And so I'd like to say, if you found these things helpful, feel free to subscribe to our channel. Share it with your colleagues. We'd love to hear from you on that. And we also have a weekly cadence that we do these things. So we're going to put this video out on Mondays that kind of kicks off the whole week. And then you can sign up for our premium content newsletter. We typically try to get those out on Tuesdays. They have kind of very niche ideas that are only available for our subscribers. Then you can actually check out another level of detail in our blog, which will take one of these topics and narrow it down even more, all through the week. And so those happen on Wednesdays. Now, we also have public workshops, Kanban, Scrum, all those kind of things. Anyone can register. That if you or your teams want to come to those, feel free to register for those online, pay for your own ticket, have your company pay for it. Or we also do private training as well that you can contact us and figure those things out. And last but not least, we have a lot of free content and videos on our online university. So feel free to check us out there and sign up and watch any of the videos that we have on there that you may like. So I'd like to thank y'all for watching, and being attentive to how you can do better with your systems here. Now, go build better systems, and we'll see you next week.